So in this chapter, we're going to study cult theory, brain works, behavioral laws, human sorting, and tone. Well, we'll start with why people buy things. Let's do that. So there are only a certain number of reasons, predominantly, that people buy things other than absolute needs, right? There are some people that buy things they absolutely need. Does anybody sell an absolute need in the room? Does anybody sell like trash cans or drain cleaner or something? Pardon? You sell houses. Houses are a need, but the houses you sell ain't no need, baby. I know what you sell. Yeah, everybody needs a $10 million house. And she'll sell you one too. You better watch out. Don't sit too close to her. You own one before you leave. It's like me. Don't sit too, yeah, anyway. Don't sit too close to me or you might go home with something else you don't need. All right. So, yeah, why people buy things. This is great for you, by the way. This is absolutely perfect for you. So people buy things. Number one reason people buy things, to get sex. It's a primary driving force. Once we're past, so if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, does everybody know what that is? I should have put it in the, you don't know what it is? Maslow's hierarchy of needs is basically, I'll probably get this wrong in drawing it, but it's a very recognized theory that basically this is food and shelter. So security, right? So this is the most primal of needs, food security, right? The survival preparedness business that I'm very much involved in has thrived for the last 7 or 8 years. Huge, right? We've done hundreds of millions of dollars over there based on most people's mindsets being here, right? Talk radio, TV, tons of propaganda, right? This is not new, by the way. The Carter administration went through exactly the same thing. Anytime we have a really strongly liberal White House occupant, typically speaking, conservatives freak out, right? Whole world's going to end. Better start stocking the salmon under the bed, right? Food and shelter. But once this is out of the way, right? Reproduction. It's wired in us, right? And ladies in the room might say, well, it's wired into the dudes, right? But it's not necessarily wired in us. It's totally false. You guys are just as involved in this process as we are, in some cases more, but I think that some ladies confuse their lack of, men just want to procreate. They want to spread seed. That's their job in life. It's ladies' job to be the selector of that, right? Their job is to breed better than they are, better than they were, and to procreate and create a better next generation. So they have the selector devices. For whatever reason, you guys have been chosen to decide who you're going to make. This is a very interesting story. I'll stop here and tell a story because it's fun. Did you know that when they make cattle in Texas, I lived in Texas 10 years. When they made cattle in Texas, they put 100 cows in. Does anybody know much about cattle? Okay, so they put 100 cows in roughly 100 cows in a pen in an area, and they bring in usually 4 or 5 bulls on a trailer, right? The bulls come out of the trailer, and the most alpha bull charges to the center of the herd. Why? The best cow is in the center of the herd, right? Just like the prettiest girl in the bar is surrounded by all of her friends, right? Usually. Right? Same is true with the cows. She immediately submits to the alpha bull, they mate, right? The bulls stay around 3 more days. The other bulls go out on the peripheral, and they're like, hey, what's up? That's me. I'm a guy like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? You're a little ugly. But it's late, right? You'll be prettier in a minute after 2 more of these. But no, they do. So, but the crazy part is, so the cows all leave, right? The bulls leave, And later, the cows are impregnated, obviously. 60% of the cows in the pen will have been impregnated by the one bull, by the alpha. They basically stand in line, right? The others who just can't find themselves worthy of the alpha eventually mate with the others. So the vast majority get mated by the alpha. So we're pre-programmed to that. It's not something you're thinking about with your conscious brain, but it's always there. Men strive to make more money, to be more fit, right? To do all those things that they do. Fortunately, I make enough money that I don't have to worry about the fit part. Right? But a lot of times, guys are working toward those angles a great deal to get sex, to be liked, to be appreciated. In my case of Christian conservative males, to be right. It's our number one motivator of our audience. To feel important. Who's ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People? Go read it again. If you haven't read it, read it. If you have read it again. It'll piss you off. You'll realize you're screwing up every personal relationship in your life. Right? It's a great book. But the whole book can be summed up with make people feel important. That's it. They'll do anything in the world for you. To make money, to save money, to make their work easier, to save time, to be secure, to be attractive, to be comfortable, to be distinct, to be happy, to have fun, to gain knowledge. And this is way up here. By the way, basically this next level, and I'm sure Maslow's is way more complicated than this, but the next level is basically self, the improvement of oneself, right? But I'll tell you what's crazy. If a person doesn't have security and they don't have sex, they tend not to get here. Because their minds are pre-programmed. Everything they're doing is pre-programmed to knock out these, right? And then this one is called self-actualization. That means enlightenment, right? That's what somebody really wants to, then they start giving back at that point. That's the reason charitable contributions are only made by, I think it's 6 or 7% of America in any real amount, right? To gratify curiosity, for convenience, and for survival. But if you look, to make money, be healthy, be distinct, to be attractive, they all go back to the same thing. So please don't sell it short. I don't mean to be gross, because I can tell all kinds of funny stories. I joke about sex and relationships and offer creation a lot. I do it. I do it to be cheeky and fun, yeah, but there's also an amazing amount of truth to it. So keep it in mind. Why do you think that guy buys the $5,000 bottle of wine in front of all of his friends, right? Because they're going to look up to him, and guess what? The chick that's with him, or maybe the chick that's with one of them, because you're in Vegas, baby, right? Right? All right. So cult theory. So those are the fundamental rules. So cult theory is very interesting. You want to build a cult. I mean, I think guys have done a good job of this, like, what's her name again? Yeah, just kidding. But Cole has built a cult of these people. He's built a community of his photographers, right? A lot of you guys have in your different areas by accident, but it's amazing if you do it on purpose what happens, right? But when you're writing your copy, and creating your offer, you should be thinking about this in the back of your head. How can I build a cult of my people, right? How will they follow me and do whatever I ask them to do? And anybody that follows these steps is pretty simple, can build a cult in pretty much any category. Ingrid absolutely can. So here are the rules, and they're simple. A, support their dreams. to whatever their dream is. Tell them it's going to happen. Support it. Be their friend. Be there to aid them to get what it is that they want. But that's not enough. And like a lot of you guys, when you're creating offers, stop right there, right? You say somebody wants to lose weight, and you go, hey, here's how you can lose weight, and you stop, right? And they may buy a product from you like you buy a mop. They got a wet spot on the floor, they'll buy a mop. But they ain't going to pay a lot of money for that mop, right? And as soon as somebody comes along with a better mop, they're going to buy that one. You're going to get no loyalty from them. Second is to allay their fears. Tell them it's all going to be okay. I got you, boo. Third is to confirm their suspicions. Right? Is somebody nervous when they buy an $11,000 bottle of wine? They might not show it, but are they?
Oh, yeah. Not the people that can spend at that level, but people who they go out of their comfort zone.
Over their means?
If they're used to buying a $300 bottle of wine and they buy an $800 bottle of wine, that person's very nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. So your job probably is to set their mind at ease, right?
Yeah.
Confirm their suspicion. You know, if you do that, you can support their, hey, the greatest glass of wine you ever had in your life. Don't worry, I promise you I've had this wine. It's fantastic. You're going to love it, right? Now, you might know, some people just sell expensive wine. They just put a label on it, put a big price on it, because some idiots will come along and just really buy that expensive wine. But this winery is different. See where I'm going? Yeah. So now you confirm the suspicion. So now you're more of a trusted advisor. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I'm sure you do this probably by, just naturally in what you do. But I pick on people, so forgive me for picking on you. I'll try to move around. So confirm their suspicions. It always helps to do that. It makes it lets people know that you understand them and understand their concerns. Justify their previous failures. In every sales letter I ever write, you're always going to see these words. It's not your fault. Right? You're going to see it constantly. It's not your fault. You didn't know, before now, you didn't know this, or you didn't know that. It's not your fault that you took bad photos. There was nobody there to teach you. They just want to sell you more equipment, more cameras, more lenses, even though you didn't know how to use them, right? And that gets us to our last part. Cast stones at their enemies, right? Those bastards at the camera store will just sell you more and more gear. They don't care what your photos look like. They could care less, right? It's not your fault you took bad photos before. You didn't know, but now you do know, and you can't unknow that, right? And that creates, I won't get ahead of myself, but that creates a state, right, in people's minds. You think this guy knows that? Support their dreams. Make America great again. Right? Allay their fears. Damn Mexicans, we'll build a wall. No kidding. I'll stand up to Kim Jong-il. We'll build a wall against Mexico. I got you. The survival business dropped 30% the day after the election. It's down 60% overall by within a year. Nobody cares anymore. That's gone. It's true in your markets too. So I was talking with Walter Birch, you know Walt. Those guys are great, really brilliant marketers. And they sell debt reduction plans and such as that. And he said they had, I don't think he would mind me telling you, they had a really crappy first quarter, right? And they've been on a growth like, Their fourth quarter was soft, their first quarter was really down, and they had a business that they really don't go down. It's great, because they're in the lead gen business. They're spending X dollars to get leads or selling leads for X dollars. But what they're finding right now is what a lot of us are finding. A message about get the car you want, get the house you want, get the credit card to go buy the clothes you want is working way better than get out of the pain of debt. right? The nonsensical message that, don't you wish you could fix your credit so you could get in more debt, is working, right? It's working. Same with us. Our market, our survival and preparedness market is moving right now. They've never responded to business opportunity advertising. They're loving it right now. They're willing to take risks. They feel secure, right? So guess what they want now? They want sex, self-improvement. Those are going to be the next markets. Those are going to be the markets, and a lot of you guys are in those markets in one avenue or another. Congratulations for you. Happy days are here again. It's been really kind of screwed up, right? And if you have a big audience that's in the negative space, like I know you guys, I say the negative space, angry or white guy space like me, right? You just got to figure out what they want next. Like, so I'll give you a research tool that I use. We talk about it, Ben and I talk a lot, so we chat about this, so he's going to be bored with this conversation. But look at your market and think about pre-internet, where were your readers? Did they read, right? So pre-internet, my readers read Popular Mechanics magazine, right? So during the Carter 80, or the Carter 70s, 76 to 80, the biggest boom of survival in the world was going on during that time because everybody was scared to death. There was this new boogeyman in the Middle East called Iran that nobody had ever heard of, right? That the Ayatollah Khomeini and all that stuff that was going on. There were hostages being held in somewhere, and the inflation was crazy, and interest rates were 19% and just nutty everything. And people were freaked out. So they were reading about living off the grid, powering with pellet stoves, you know, arming themselves to the teeth, right? If you open a savings and loan account back then in Texas, you got a shotgun. When you open an SNL loan, when you open an SNL CD, you got a shotgun. Anybody remember that at all? There were big premiums. A lot of places there were toasters and stuff like that when you did it. Not in Texas, fucking shotgun. All right? So, you get a shotgun when you buy an engagement ring? I would not have a firearm in my home with a married woman. That's a bad idea right there. Yeah, wouldn't do it. But anyway, so I go back and look at these magazines. You can go to Google Books and look back in the magazines. So you should go back and look in like your photography magazines. You can go and look at all of them. But Popular Mechanics in 76 to 80 was all about survival. I fast forwarded to 1982, so Reagan had been in office 2 years. The same effect happened. When Reagan came into office, everybody, whew, everything's gonna be okay. For whatever reason. We've got an actor now. It's gonna be great. It's so much like today, right? But everybody was comforted by Reagan. They really were. And by 1982, almost all of Popular Mechanics was populated by business opportunity ads. So the cycle is the cycle. So if you want to learn what's going to happen next, go back and read. 76 to 80 is probably the last example of when this happened, right? Because Clinton wasn't really liberal by liberal standards. Last liberal president we had was Carter, and then Obama, who was probably less liberal than Obama. So did he allay their fears? Are we going to build a wall against Mexico, right? Did he confirm their suspicions? Politicians are all crooks. I've had them on the payroll forever, right? They came begging for money from my office, drain the swamp, right? He confirmed their suspicions from an inside track, right? He justified their previous failures. It's not your fault, American people. You just had bad leadership. The failed policies of blah, 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 blah. And guess who was failed? What's happened in the past, when Bush was running, when somebody was running against Obama in the past, or McCain was running against Obama, was the failed policies of Barack Obama. Trump went all the way to the mat. Guess who sucked before me? Everybody. I'm the only person in the world, quotes, I'm the only person in the world that can do blank and blank and blank and blank. Here's what's wrong with George Bush. Here was what's wrong with George Bush Sr. Here was what was wrong with Clinton. Here was what was wrong with Jack Kennedy. Here was what was wrong with everybody, right? I'm the end all be all, right? Makes sense though. If you understand the formula, all cult leaders get that. You have to eliminate all other options. You have to be the only option left standing, right? Is everybody going to believe you? No. But he only needed, in this case, 49%, right? And lastly, cast stones at their enemies, right? Who's the enemy? The government, politicians, the liberal media, right? Everybody they can hate, right? When you stir that up in a perfect pot, you know, basically he won because he made a better offer than Hillary did. And there's another big factor I'll get to in a second. He made a better offer. Hillary offered Obama 2.0. And if you liked Obama, great. Kinda. But you know what? People like who's bought a new car in the last year? Keep your hand up if your old car had stopped running when you bought your car. Exactly. Not a fucking person. Because sometimes we're just tired of that car, right? Sometimes we're just tired of the car. Even though the car might be better than the car. Who's ever bought a car and found out their new car is worse than the car they gave up, right? Happens a lot. I did with the iPhone 10. Sucks. All right. So that's the general idea of cult theory. So write those things down. They're really important to you. You know, people will do anything that you want as long as you support their dreams, allay their fears, justify their previous failures, confirm their suspicions, and cast stones at their enemies. Okay? We good? Anybody got questions about that part before we move on?
Just a quick clarification. You said trending right now are professional development and...
Trending right now, and this is today, so if you're watching a recording of this later, it may not be true, but I think it's going to be true for a while. Trending right now are everything up the hierarchy, right? The dating market had really fallen off. Is anybody in the dating market? You're in the dating market? Are you seeing a turn back up? A little bit. Yeah, I think you're going to see a pretty big turn back up. So the dating market crashed pretty hard when survival was at its tops. Dating sunk. So did personal development. So did business opportunity. Most money-making opportunities. People aren't willing to take risks. They're not thinking about risks. They're very conservative. They're very tight, right? But what happened is kind of cool right now is during that time they were still earning, right? So a lot of people had savings. They've saved during that time. And now they're just beginning to release that money into the market. And you're seeing that happen, right? And when you see Trump touting a better economy, it's largely because of that. People are just spending some of their savings right now that they've held on to for really not any really good reason, right? But the things that are really we see trending right now, business opportunity more than anything else, small business opportunity for a different reason, right? It's different than it has been before. It's less about I want to make $1 billion and be rich. It's more about I want freedoms of choice, right? So I'll be right with you, Sal. So basically, like I'll tell you, my niece just quit a $114,000 a year job to take a $68,000 a year job so she could work remotely, right? People want to work for less money. They want things they can do on the road. They want things they can do without being tied down. Ben's audience, they're ladies, a lot of ladies, but I think your avatar's a lady who wants to be a bookkeeper at home because she only wants to work 3 or 4 hours a day when the kids are at school, make some money to contribute, have some of her own money to spend, but she's not looking to get rich, right? Those opportunities, I think, are really the bedrock of what's going to grow the business opportunity market moving forward. Not the, and again, it's great because I told Roland the other day, I said, I'm working on some biz op offers. And he's like, because he's a recovering attorney. So, but the same thing is true with the health market. If I were back in the health market tomorrow, which I'm not, and I'm not going to be, but if I were, my claims would all be emotional claims. They wouldn't be anything factual. And with business opportunity, it's easy. You can talk about freedoms, choices, time with family. Those things right now are a bigger currency than is make $1 billion, right? That's just, you know, even in the trading market where I think a lot of you guys sometimes go into the make $1 jillion, most of these people are retirees that want to supplement their income. They want to be able to, they want something to be interested in, they want something to do, and they want to make a few extra bucks without risking a whole lot of their savings in their portfolio they got. So, and personal development, anything with attractiveness. People are going to really start working on themselves now. They're going to start working on themselves a lot more. You're going to see Botox clinics. All that stuff's going to get bigger and bigger. Fitness is on fire right now. The people at ClickBank are good friends of mine, the people that run ClickBank. They're telling me right now fitness is up 60%. Survival's down 60%. All the political stuff's down. Gambling up big time. Gambling systems for horse racing, sports betting up. So Vegas is probably going to get a trend up soon, right? Business opportunities up the most, 130% a year. And personal development is up a little. So personal development is starting to creep back up. The personal development, I mean, woo-woo or feel better about yourself, mind shift kind of stuff. I say woo-woo, it's a derogatory term, I shouldn't use it. I mean crackhead. Go ahead.
It's interesting.
Can we turn this one on? It's good? Good, Sal.
So I listen to Bloomberg on Sirius XM every morning, and even on the way here, I counted no less than 5 ads for business or buy a franchise.
Yeah, franchise is hot right now.
Which is the worst investment, but like
Yeah,
you know,
franchising is super
Yeah.
rocket hot right now. So yeah, thanks. So there we go. So we talked about cult theory. Keep those things in mind. Put that up. Put a note in front of you when you write, and burn those things into your brain, because when you learn them, you're going to be able just to create a better offer. So let's talk about BrainWorks next. So this was the primate study. This is what I learned from a year of study of primates in 2 slides, right? This is hard. This is freaking hard to do, by the way. And to try to do it in a sequential order where you'll get some use out of it and not leave out like 1,000 things, it's really hard because there's a lot of nuance that's still. And I put a lot of book recommendations in here. I really suggest you guys buy those books and read them, because I'm going to talk 3 slides about this. You really should go read Loretta Bruning's book about it. It's really, really good. But I called her on the phone to speak. She's a different lady. So basically, inside your brain, does everybody, I don't know if most people know this or not. Do you know you have basically 3 brains inside your brain? Most people think you have 1, right? The one that I like the best is this one. It's called the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain is all about what we want, right? It also serves us subconsciously. The reptilian brain keeps your heart beating. It keeps you standing upright, right? It does all the basic things that we do. It's a sense of balance and those other things. But what it really does is want. It just freaking wants, right? The second brain is the mammalian brain, although that's in the wrong spot. Yeah, it's the mammalian brain. It holds feelings and emotions and memories. It's generally speaking in your brain, it's your hard drive, right? If it were your computer, the mammalian brain would be your hard drive. Only mammals have it. That's why they call it the mammalian brain, right? Reptiles don't have it. They only have a reptilian brain, right? So lastly, yeah, it's in the right place, but just the wrong arrow. Lastly, you have the human brain, or the prefrontal cortex. We're the only ones that have that. Primates have a very tiny one, but not nearly as developed as ours. Guess what its job is primarily? It's where we logic and reason, right? That's the difference in humans and other primates. We logic and reason, right? But that brain's primary job is just to say no. That's its job. Because otherwise, we'd be drunken, debaucherous, adulterous, Las Vegans. Right? You really wouldn't have, if you see, a dog's in heat, if another dog comes by, they don't date. Right? They just hit it. If a dog sees food or a bear in the woods sees food, they just eat it, right? Unless there's a fight or flight reflex inside all animals, all mammals, right? That say basically, if it's smaller than me, eat it. If it's bigger than me, run from it. If it's the same size as me, fuck it, right? That's the fundamental reflex, right? True, right? But that's a mammal. So a mammal only has a certain amount of processing. That's what they have up there. They have this born fear. You know, rabbits naturally fear foxes. Nobody tells them. They don't go to school and say, hey, look, this is a fox. He's going to kill you, right? But as humans, we have this ability to process risk. So to give you an example, a snake is slithering across the ground, and it sees food. In front of it is a bear, right? It just goes for the food. The bear picks it up, rips it in half, throws it over its shoulder, and eats the food, right? That's that. That's how a reptile brain works. A mammalian brain, a dog goes up to the food, sees the food, sees the bear, and something in its brain ticks up and says, from memory and past memory, a generation says, get the hell out of here. The bear's going to fuck you up, right? And the dog takes off. The difference in a human is a human could see the bear, see the food, and if the human is starving and they feel like their life is at risk, they can form a calculation of the risk of going for the food. Maybe they're 50 feet away, 100 feet away. They can grab the food, climb up a tree, get away from the bear. Mammals can't do that. Normal mammals can't do that. Only we can do it. But because we have that talent, it also creates something called inhibitions, right? Guys hate that, by the way. It creates inhibitions. It creates a constant sense of no. I had somebody at a celebrity's office not long ago tell me he's just blocking a deal we're trying to do, big celebrity. And he's like, my job here is to say no. Oh, great. You're awesome. Hope you get paid a lot. So basically, as offer creators, we got to get past that no, because probably whatever it is that you're offering, if you've done a good job at stirring the want, that little brain back there is going, yeah. Get it. Right? It's talking. And it makes all the final decisions, by the way. It really does. Because this brain can say no, but only for so long. And we'll talk about how to suspend that. Right? So how do we turn off that brain to let us do what we want to do? Usually, just like that. Right? Why do you think girls go out in Las Vegas to nightclubs and drink a lot? Because they want to get laid, right? But their parental upbringing, their training, their natural sense of selectiveness tells them no. He's not worthy. But enough tequila, and that all changes. Unfortunately, we can't apply tequila to our prospects. Not all the time, anyway. A couple of you guys got into War Room, were pretty hammered when you signed up. You notice we got booze at the War Room booth at TNC, right? Always. Anyway, we have to use words. That's our tool. Those are the tools in our toolbox. It's kind of all we have. We use words. We can use video with still words, right? Everything is words. But words are incredibly powerful. Words can get us to do things that we wouldn't normally do by firing certain brain chemicals and doing things. And a lot of what I'm going to tell you next, you may not even care about, but you should know how it works. So I knew a lot of this stuff. I sold forever, and I was a pretty decent salesperson. I was a pretty decent copywriter. But a lot of cases, I didn't know how it worked. I just knew that it worked, right? But once you understand the why underneath it, you can start really nuancing the process. And it's amazing what you can accomplish. So what do you do if you can't give them tequila? You use words. This is one of my favorite examples. This is a book called Astrological Love by Nora Hayden, whoever that is. Anybody buy this book? If you did, you should hold on to it. It's probably a collector's item. So this book was published. They printed 5,900 sold. They all came back from the bookstores. Lady's got a garage full of books. Sells them to a Remainder bookstore. Publisher's walking through the Remainder bookstore one day, sees the book, picks it up, thumbs through it, says, this is a damn good book. Calls up the author and says, can I buy the rights to the book? I'd like to republish it. I'll still pay you normal royalty. Really? Okay, but it sucked. By the way, it didn't sell. Yeah, okay. Changed nothing about the book, but the cover. How to satisfy a woman every time and make her beg for more. Have her beg for more. Sold 2.3 or 23 million copies. 2.3 million copies, I believe. Never changed a word of the book, right? What changed? The offer. That's an offer. That's not a title. That's an offer. They made an offer. Astrological Love makes no offer. It's just a statement. It's like saying, introducing cheese, right? Not this miraculous stuff that you can melt on anything that makes it taste better, just cheese. But as copywriters, we do this all the freaking time. We make some stupid statement that we think is catchy, but it means nothing, right? There may have been a buried message down there in the sub, but you couldn't read it, right? No matter what you're selling, make an offer. We're going to talk about book covers, books a lot, because I think personally, book the hardest thing to sell in the world. And nobody really wants to buy a book. A book is work. Nobody really wants to buy a book. So if you learn how books sell, you'll learn a lot about selling whatever else you're selling. Let's get as a part of the room, who's selling information in their business? Half. Who's selling a physical widget? Wow, not many of you guys. Half dozen. Who is selling a service? Okay, got it. So anybody selling something I didn't cover in those three things? That's pretty much it, isn't it? Software. Yeah, software's different. Yeah. All right, cool. Anybody else? Okay. So we just use words. So how do we turn off, by using words, how do we turn off that no center in the brain to let us get through to these people and get them to do what we want them to do? Number one is time, right? So people say, you hear it all the time, you've been hearing it since the beginning of time if you've been around advertising long, does long copy work? Yeah, it works. It almost always works better than short copy in almost every single situation. I think there are a number of reasons for that. One, the longer you have to explain something, obviously the more you can explain it, right? The more clearly you can explain it. There's a certain system in a courtship you go through, but I think moreover, the reason long copy works is it consumes more time, right? You've never seen a 30-second TV commercial selling a $300 thing. It doesn't happen. It will not work. Write this down because I didn't put it in the slides and I should have. People will not give you their money without first giving you their time, right? The longer you can keep people engaged in whatever you're talking about in your message, right? You create what's called a temporary suspension of belief. A temporary suspension of belief. In other words, people begin not believing what they've always believed, right? I watched this new show called Explained on Netflix. It's really good. And it explains all these different developments that are going on in the world and different trends and things. And the first one is about polyamorous relationships. And we have a good friend that's in a poly relationship. So polyamorous relationships. And when you watch this thing for 30 minutes, you're like, huh. I kind of get it. I was not a hard sell, right? I've got it set up to loop on the TV now. Every time my wife turns on the TV, it's like one of those hotel things that plays over and over and over again. I'm hoping it sinks in. So far, it's not working. But time is really important. So when you're writing, you know, somebody said once, how long should copy be? As long as it's interesting. That's how long it should be. If you can't make it interesting and it becomes boring, you're going to lose. But the longer you can keep them engaged in your copy, that's the reason video sales letters were so dynamic when they first came out, because they engaged people for a long period of time, and there was a payday if you established one correctly. You offered a premium on the front that made them watch to the end, and basically 30 minutes of watching damn near anything, you're going to get 5-10% of people to buy it. It's crazy. If you've crafted your message well, that's going to almost always be true. Now they may unbuy it if you've gotten them too sauced up about it, but going through the system that we're talking about, it's actually quite simple to do. So we turn it off with time. We have to get people engaged for a while. We turn it off with greed by stimulating their greed glands, their want, right? We want to poke at that emotional greed. And by greed, I don't necessarily mean money. I mean abundance, right? I want all the money. I want all the women. I want all the cars. The Tai Lopez pitch is great. You can joke about that guy all you want. I know a lot of people do. And he's like, yeah, joke. Have a good time. I mean, the guy's doing not a great deal, but he's attracting a giant audience because he gets it. He's poking at that want gland, right? Really, really, really well. Really well. He's poking that reptilian brain back there saying, hey, you know you want it. You know you want it. You know you want it. He's the crack dealer on the corner going, first one's free. Right? You know you want it. And you're looking at him. The fact that he's a little silly is to his benefit. It really is, because you look at him and go, man, if that guy's doing that, I'm going to make $1 bajillion. I'm going to show you an ad example in a minute. It's like that. Logic. Gain, logic, fear. They're a triad. I use them. If you'll look through my sales letters, you'll usually see that pattern repeat over and over again within the body of the letter. Gain, logic, fear. They're the only 3 reasons really people move, right? They want something. Has anybody ever done a product launch? Right, a few people. So you'll notice that it's changing a little bit, but used to be about half the sales came opening day. Then a few would come in the middle, and then the rest would come in the close. And now it's even less in the beginning because people are trained. They understand launches now if you're in this market. But basically, your people who bought day one, your rabid people, were buying it 100% for gain, right? You didn't have to talk about crap with them about fear or logic. They didn't care. You wouldn't believe how many times that we had people call Digital Marketer. I used to write all the copy for Digital Marketer. When Ryan and I were first together, the first 5 years, I wrote almost all the copy. And it was some hot copy. There was some of the best copy ever written back in those days. And because I had to. I was baroque. But we had people would call us and say, hey, is this customer service? Yeah. I bought this thing for $2,000. It's on my credit card. Can you tell me what it is? That's a gain buyer. That little reptilian brain over a 45-minute sales letter took over and said, hey, you, no up front, shut up, get out of the way. This is good. I want this so bad I'm not going to listen to you, right? And we've all made those decisions. Usually not so good results in some cases. Logic. So some people react to logic. This is kind of the middle of the ground between gain, logic, fear. Logic is the one in the middle that's going to get you more sales, but probably only 10 or 15%. So really telling people the logic of what you do is only going to get a certain percentage of the sales that you want. But we tend to spend an inordinate amount of time on logic. We're trying to justify, we're writing with logic, right? Again, back to Trump, right? Build a wall, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. And Hillary's over on the other side of the stage going, Well, the foreign policy in Afghanistan right now is such that we really need to wah 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 wah. Nobody wanted to hear that. Nobody ever wants to hear that. All right? You're talking about how great your product is. You know, it's cool to hear the story of the wines, you know, but the stories are fun. But the tactical part, it's fun to know once. I'd never want to hear it again, you know. When I went out to Napa and they were showing me all the different ways, you know, there are this many varietals and this many elevations and this many soil types and this many ways that we pluck the thing and this many kind of cements that we use to store. All that was cool at one time. I don't care about that anymore, you know. Now if you tell me George Clooney drinks it, I'm down, right? Because I'm a big Clooney fan. So logic is a secondary for sure. Fear, right? Fear is a biggie. And usually it's the fear of missing out. It's the fear of opportunity. And if you can learn to craft the fear of opportunity better, you'll sell more stuff, right? The fear of lost opportunity. We're going to talk about that when we get to scarcity a great deal, because it's my favorite form of scarcity in a sales pitch.